this meeting to order. Apologize for the delay. George, could you take roll, please?
Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozan?
Here.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Naso?
Here.
All present.
Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's great to see a full house. Everybody just wanted to hang out with us. This part of the meeting, we always go through our district goals. We have 3 goals, and they're very important to us. And every item on the agenda that we go through reflects those goals. And the first and foremost, and since we have a big audience, we'll talk about it a little more about that, student achievement. So that's what we're all here for. That's what everything's directed to. And then the second one is financial prudence. And financial prudence says that we're going to use every tax dollar to the best of our ability to maximize student achievement. And then our third goal is community engagement. And community engagement is how we're going to best maximize the help that we get from the community. And we get it from so many different sources. We're so fortunate that we have so many community members who help us with, from the PTA to organizations that donate to people who give their time to everything. So we use that then to help us on the financial prudence side so we don't have to pay for so many things. And we get help on that side. And then also for student achievement. So we're really happy to have all that help. It all seems to be working pretty well, but we always have room for improvement. We're always looking for ideas. So anybody who has ideas, or especially with a smart entrepreneurial group like we have tonight, anybody who has any ideas, we're willing to take them and listen. So with that, we'll move on to recognition. So Cameron?
Well, thank you, Mr. Naso, and obviously this is one of our favorite meetings of the school year because we get to recognize so many outstanding accomplishments from academics to athletics and to different various clubs and groups in our high school. And we are going to go a little bit out of order tonight, and we are going to start. I'm going to ask Strongsville High School Principal Mark Smithberger to come to the podium, and we are going to start by recognizing mock trial to begin the evening. So, Mark?
Mr. Hubba, thank you. Members of the school board, thank you for having us this evening. This is by far my favorite board meeting of the year. It's a chance for us to celebrate all the students here tonight and all the things they've done throughout the course of the last few months. So I want to jump in here. I have 3 different groups going to present tonight, and I know Mr. Jawin, our athletic director, will present the swimmers as well. So we have 4 different high school groups here that we're excited for. Our first group here this evening is our mock trial group. I want to recognize our mock trial advisor, Miss Allison Papish. She'll come over here. Yes. Ms. Papish has volunteered as our advisor for mock trial for numerous years. And if you think, well, what does that look like? Well, when she volunteers, she throws herself into it wholeheartedly. They start back in the fall with multiple practices a week, preparing, getting their court case, getting ready to go. Ms. Papish has built the program from 1 team to 3 this year. And unlike maybe a lot of people would, or certainly I would, she didn't just have 1 practice. She builds her practices around the kids' schedule. So the kids have 1 practice maybe a night. She has 2 or 3 practices per night. She builds so that they can be available when they are there. She's done an unbelievable job. As you look here tonight, you may not think she's ultra competitive. If you think that, you're wrong. I realized this when we started AP Government a few years ago, and she was talking about her scores. They matter to her. If she's going to compete, she's going to win. And the kids have that same attitude, and it's infectious. She does a great job with our kids, gives them unbelievable confidence. Mock trial, if you've never been to one of the actual competitions, is incredible. The kids have to prepare. They argue a court case from every different position of a court would have, and then they have magistrates or judges who actually critique them, give them feedback. So it's an unbelievable job she does. She works on it probably about 8 months a year from start to finish, giving of her time. And once again, she does volunteer all that time, so we really appreciate that effort. And I know the students do as well. So, Ms. Papish, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smithberger, for a nice introduction. And I want to take this moment to thank the board for your support of mock trial. I know President Naso in particular supports our group because he came to see our district competition this year, as his daughter Kirsten, a freshman, is going to be a part of our team, or at least we plan to continue to recruit her for mock trial. Yes. Before introducing our state team, I'd like to recognize our legal advisor, Chris Gadinsky, Chris, come on up. I'm sorry, it's your moment. Chris is an attorney, and we all have legal advisors for all our teams. And Chris is an alumni of SHS, and while he was a student at SHS, he was a part of a mock trial team. And under my predecessor, Debbie Wakefield, he went to the state competition as well. The team disbanded for a while, and then about 7 years ago, I said, I got to form another team. And he contacted me because his brother was a student in my AP government class, and he heard that I was trying to recruit mock trial. And he said, I just want to help out. Can I help out? I just graduated law school. I'm back in Strongsville, and I want to help you guys out. It was really a blessing because we had a bar-appointed attorney, but he didn't know mock trial. He had never done it before. Chris had done it in high school. He'd done it in college. And in law school, helped out with regional mock trial high schools in the Columbus area. And so the years of experience, I can't say how fortunate, how pivotal he has been to the success of our team. And for this group in particular, for these seniors, he's known them since they were freshmen, started off with them, coaching them in that team, and he's had a significant influence. I usually work with the newer teams, and so I was able to just kind of let him go with these. As a legal coach, a professional, and a member of the community, as a husband and father, Chris has not only been an excellent coach, but he has been a role model for these young ladies and gentlemen. I know we could not have done what we have done over the years without his assistance. So thank you, Chris, and thank you, especially your lovely family, for sacrificing you and all of the hours that you have dedicated to mock trial over the years. It's high time that you received this award. Now I would like to introduce the SHS mock trial team members that advanced to states. Guys, what an adventure it has been. This has been a truly adventurous season. The group had been to regional and state before, and while we were there, we always heard, oh, Solon, they're so tough, don't go up against, oh, you got Solon, you're dead. Don't even try, you're gonna lose. And then at regionals or state, Indian Hill just always dominated the state championships. Nobody could beat them. They always went to state, they always won. This year, the gossip turned, and we heard people gossiping, oh, Strongsville, oh, you're in trouble. They are really good. It was the first time that people were afraid of us for a change, and that was encouraging, and it encouraged our team. And we also beat Solon District or Regional, I can't remember, and we also beat Orange there, and Indian Hill, for the first time, did not make it to the Final Four, and we did. So, sorry, I gotta brag. We placed third in the state out of 400 teams that start at district, whittled down to 32. So I want to talk about them because they did a great job. It was called Team Thor. You'd have to research. Team Thor represented a mythical figure that a past alumni of our team had wanted us to be called, so we adopted that this year. If you pose a threat to Thor, he may not come out on top, but he can go toe-to-toe with any warrior and hold his own. So it was apropos. I'd like to recognize Suraj Srinivasan. Why don't you come down, Suraj? So how many Best Attorney Awards since freshman year? Do you remember? Can't remember to count. There's just too many. We lost track. Since freshman year when he was getting Best Attorney Award, I must say Chris and I enjoyed every closing argument. The closer has to seal the deal, and he was amazing. I loved watching the competition's jaw drop while you were up there, with poise and articulation and smooth arguments that even the judges said was the best they had ever heard. And so we will miss you. We'll miss the fun that we had. At this time, then, I'd like to also recognize one of our veterans, Satya Nayagam. Congratulations. Satya is our most tenacious attorney. Cross-examinations by Satya were our secret weapon. The best witnesses in the entire state of Ohio caved under his scrutiny, and so we definitely crucial. Such a team, anyway. Sham Polakanda, come on down. We tried to get Sham to be an attorney. He just wanted to be a witness, and it ended up being one of the best decisions our team ever made. Congratulations, Sham. I think he swept every single Best Witness award throughout all of the competitions, whether it was district, regional, or state. Sham could dodge cross-examination bullets with superhero finesse, and so swept so an excellent witness, and we're proud of you. Very special addition to our team this year was Marquise Globalcar. Come on down, Marquise. Marquise was our miracle gift to the team this year. She's a freshman, so we didn't know anything about her. I had seen her on the morning announcements, and she just had such a poise for her age and just such personality. And then when I saw her walk into our very first open house for mock trial, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the best year. This is one of the best speakers I've heard, and she was our ace up the sleeve at competition, and she's one of only a handful of freshmen who ever went that far. Most of them are all seniors, so very impressive, important part of our team. Congratulations. I'm gonna, in a moment, let the seniors talk because they're leaving. They've spent 4 years with Chris. Seniors, I'm gonna miss you. We've had a lot of stress. We've had victories, defeats, and most of all, we've had some really good laughs, most of which we can't talk about. But you'll be remembered, and I know the seniors would really like to thank Chris at this time. Okay?
All right, I'll keep it brief. So over the last 4 years, I think I've gotten to know Chris not only as a mock trial mentor, but as a friend and as a role model as well. There's been a lot of highs and there's been a lot of lows. I think Satya can relate to me on this. There are times when we go home saying like we absolutely hate Chris because he has this tendency to, he'll come to practice and he'll make you erase everything you did at the last practice and restart. But he is such a perfectionist and he always strives for perfection, which is admirable. And I think we've come to admire that, and we've come to adopt that and inculcate it in whatever we do, so that we have gone through mock trial revisions. I think by the end we've gone through 11 or 12 times. We've completely redone it and revamped it. And he's spent tens of hundreds of hours with us, whether it be like 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning or 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night. Chris is there, sitting down, going through with us. So the level of dedication and the level of commitment that he has to our team, as well as his generosity, I think it's unparalleled. So thank you, Chris.
Just to reiterate some of the things Serge said, Chris has donated his time. He didn't have to do this, but he's been with us for hours upon hours preparing for the competition, whether it be the night before or 2 months before when we needed him. He was there for the legal advice, not only, but also for helping us be better speakers and better students as well. And I think as a result of that, we've built a mock trial culture in Strongsville where for future generations of students who do mock trial, we will be able to compete with the atmosphere for mock trial we've built in Strongsville thanks to Chris's efforts with our team, not only our team and the other teams we built up in Strongsville. So thanks again to Chris.
Well, it's been a great journey. I didn't start as a freshman, so a little less experience, but I don't know. I just really enjoyed every moment I got to spend with Chris, even when he made us restart over and over. Yeah.
Reoccurring theme there, starting over and over.
Right. And I know you wanted me to be an attorney this year. I'm sorry that didn't work out, but at least I got to be a witness, and that was really great. I also want to thank Mrs. Papish for starting the mock trial team up again, and starting that mock trial culture, and it was just a really great time. We had a blast. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
And Ms. Papich, before you sit down, I just want to make a few comments before. Just my daughter did participate, and she loved it, and the dedication was there. There was late nights and Saturdays and whenever they could get practice in. But I went downtown into the courthouse to witness, and I remember I expected to see a play, honestly, because my daughter was working on her opening statement. I thought she'd say her lines, someone would say their lines, and then they would judge on what they'd written more than what. But what really was, it was like an episode of Law and Order. I mean, they literally were like going back and forth and objecting to statements and challenging evidence, and there was a real judge sitting up there deciding with all his experience, and two other, I think there were judges or something, other judges were sitting on the sidelines scoring it. It was an amazing thing to watch. You guys should be extremely proud of what you did and your commitment and the training and all the time you guys spent. It was an amazing process. I can't wait to see it again next year. So, thank you very much. Oh, no, you gotta come up here.
You gotta run through the gauntlet.
You're not done yet. Sorry.
Thank you for volunteerism. Thank you. Hey, good luck next year. I'm gonna miss you. Good luck next year. Good luck
Working
next
on
year.
failing you.
So much for everything.
Congratulations. Nice job. Absolutely.
Good job. Good luck. Thank you so much. Debate team is next. Now we have to get that in.
And Miss Papish is too modest, but I've always been a sore loser, so I'll say it. After the semifinals of the state, we ended up not advancing to the finals. The other team's advisor before the ruling final said, "You guys beat us. You guys were unbelievable." So in my mind, there's a little controversy with that decision. So I know the guys were frustrated that day, but they were unbelievable. And to finish third in the state out of 400-plus teams I mean, when we talk about sports, winning state title is unbelievable. The divisions are made of 200 teams. There's 480 teams, or 420, whatever that number is. We finished third. So something to be really proud of, so great job, guys.
It's great.
Our next group this evening are our National Merit Scholars. So I want to give you a little understanding of how National Merit Scholars are recognized. In students' junior year, they take the PSAT. That stands for Practice SAT. Every year, about 1.6 million juniors take the PSAT. From there, 50,000 students are recognized as being National Merit Scholars. This year's senior class has 13 of those members. Yes. That is the most in school history. To give you some perspective, they send out a flyer for the entire country of National Merit semifinalists before you can go to a finalist. We had the 15th most of any high school in the state out of nearly 800 high schools. So if you do that math in your head, that puts you kind of in that 2% range of every high school in the state. And quite honestly, in Northeast Ohio, we beat most of the private schools and public schools in the area. That's a testament to how hard our students work, how hard their families work to get them there, as well as our staff to put them in a good spot to be there. So from the semifinalists, so you're from 50,000 to 16,000 semifinalists, and then you go to 15,000 finalists. We have 8 finalists in this senior class. That number is, usually if you get 1 to 3, it's a great year. We have 8. It's, like I said, it's a tribute to how hard they work and who they are. And it's really just impressive. So at this time, I want to call the National Merit Commended students. So that means they're in the top 50,000 of the entire country. And I want to make mention of this. Semifinalist, which most people don't understand how the program totally works, is designated by how many are in per state. So it's based on the U.S. population. So Ohio gets X amount, and Montana gets X amount. Ohio is one of the harder states to be a semifinalist. So these students who are commended actually have scores that in most states would make them semifinalist or finalist, because Ohio has a high PSAT score average overall. So just because they're not semifinalists or finalists doesn't mean in many other places in the country they wouldn't be finalists. So at this point, our committed students, Ian McGreal, is Ian here? George Kinney, I know George is here. Yeah, George, come on up, yes. Anna Brandt. Sorry, Anna. Yeah. Andrea Ciabanu. Our National Merit semifinalist, Jimmy Foley. And now for our finalists. To move from a semifinalist to a finalist, you take your PSAT score, then you have to take a SAT score, your transcript, and write an essay to move from semifinalist to finalist. So these students all were named finalists, many of which have gotten National Merit Final scholarships. They've actually been awarded scholarships. Christina Fogwell. Jackie Foley. Yeah, we're not see. Stand over here. Yeah, or stand beside me. Either way's fine. You guys are all smarter than I am. Figure it out, guys.
Way smarter.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Naso, I can hear you. You're on mic. Yes. Erica Lee. Satya Nayagam. Shyam Polakanda. Hannah Schmidt. Serge Shiravasan. And Rosemary Zaleski. These are our National Merit Scholars for the class of 2018. Let's give them a round of applause. You guys go ahead and shake our board members' hands, please. You guys too. Yes. Yeah. All of you guys. Yes. All of you guys. Yes.
Run the gauntlet.
Congratulations. Good to see you. Congratulations. 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 Good job. You broke a job. You guys are great job. Congratulations. Great job. Congratulations. 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 Great job.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Guys, congratulations once again. Really proud of you. My final group I'm going to present tonight is our marketing program and our DECA competitors. Every year we stand up here at this board meeting and talk about what they've done that's new or different, or how they've expanded their successes, and this year is really no different. Some of the expansion this year is we have a new teacher in the marketing DECA program as well. So Ms. Frenchik was with us still, so don't get worried. She's still here, thank God. And we've hired Ms. Mason as well. Ms. Mason does the junior DECA students, and Ms. Frenchik does the senior marketing students and DECA students. So Ms. Frenchik would come forward, talk a little about kind of the accomplishments this year. Yes, give her a round of applause. And Ms. Mason, I apologize, I didn't see you sneak in here. I don't want to steal all their thunder because I know they want to talk about what they've done, but this year, 81 students made it to the state competition, or participated in the state competition. Wow. And we had 15 qualify for nationals. And I believe that's the most since you've been running it,
yes.
Or most ever?
From the records I have, but Mrs. Herbrick was amazing, so it's possible she had more.
Yes. Many schools get 0 to nationals. We got 15. So without further ado, Ms. Frenchik, Ms. Mason, ladies, congratulations. Great job.
Hello. Thank you again for having us. I'm excited to be here and share our successes with everybody. So this year, we were involved in many activities as we have been. We started the year with our mock competition, which we've had board members participate with us, and it's been a great experience for our students to get some practice in our first round, where we can get some constructive criticism for our students so that we can see what we need to help them improve on for the rest of the year. We participated with the City of Strongsville, the Chamber, and the Rotary in doing the Strongsville Business Expo. So I believe this is our 6th year doing that with them, where our students work a table there, and then they also come help set up, and then they mingle around to kind of get a real-world experience of what it's like to be at a trade show or a business expo. We also had a group of students that volunteered for the Providence House for their biggest fundraiser that they hold down at the Cleveland Browns Stadium, which was a great experience for our students also. And then one of our biggest projects that we did this year was we brought back the winter formal dance. So it had been missing for about 5 years, and we weren't sure how that was going to go. So the last year that the dance was run, they sold about 100 tickets, and we were able to sell nearly 800 tickets. So, which is really a tribute to my students, our students, and the work that they were willing to put into that, the marketing that they've learned and were able to actually apply. So that was exciting for them. So into our district competition, we had 120 of our students compete. We were competed against 500 other students from local high schools, and we had 16 first place teams, 14 second place teams, 8 third place, 11 fourth place, and 7 fifth place teams. So that was an amazing accomplishment for our students. When we went to the state competition, we had 81 students compete, we had 37 finalists, and we have 15 individuals and teams going to the national competition this weekend. So that's very exciting. We broke a few records this year. The number that, since I've been here, I've had qualify for nationals. The highest number was for Nashville, which was 2 years ago. The number of first place winners that we had at the state competition, and the first time we've ever had a team place first place their junior year and senior year. And then we also had in one event the second and fourth place team, which has not happened for us either. So, with that being said, a lot of our students were unable to be here tonight because they are involved in the science fair that's going on tonight. A couple of them had lacrosse games, and a couple of them had jobs which are required by the program that they were unable to call off for. So I just wanted to introduce some of our students that are here, if they want to come on up and line up on the wall here, and then when we call you, you can come up and get your certificate and go through the line. So we have our first place team, which is unable to be here today, of Maria Ong and Hannah Tulik. They were in entrepreneurship. Our other first place team of Joanne Munschauer and Julia Ostrowski, and a first place individual, Allison Mehmed, all were unable to be here tonight. Our second place teams, Ali Awada and Jacob Seelong, and Alex Lynch was an individual event. Second place, so Alex, you can come on up. And I will move through these. Alex just decided on his college this afternoon. He will be attending Indiana University and majoring in finance. So congratulations, Alex. Our third place sports and entertainment team of Olivia Kolbianki and Julia Fine. Julia is here tonight. So Julia will be attending the national competition along with Alex. Here you go. Julia will be attending Kent State University and majoring in business and marketing. Abigail Moore received third place in her event. Abby actually came down, she was playing in the basketball game on Friday night of when competition started, and she came down and we proctored her exam at 11:30 at night. And she was able to compete, and she actually received third place in that was her first time going as an individual, actually, so it was a great accomplishment for her. Nick Diaz received fourth place, and then our fourth place team of Aya and Riley, both of them are going to John Carroll next year. Aya is majoring in business, and Riley is going to major in finance. So. Mitch Medea received 4th place in the automotive services category. Mitch is also going to John Carroll, and he will be majoring in marketing. Congratulations. We had a 5th place financial services team of Phoebe Rohrbach and Maddie Zatazello. A 6th place for Sabrina Paoli. 7th place for Trisha Gregg. 7th place for Lindsay Rebholz. An 8th place project that we did, which was actually it was a learn and earn project about the winter formal dance. So what did they learn and what did we earn? So of Steph Jacoman, Annie Mocho, and Sabrina Ortenzi. Yulia Lazinski received 9th place in her event. And then the list of finalists that we have for seniors who they call like a top 12. And then those are the people that compete in the next round were Kate Arslanian, Jenna Miller, Antonio Puzatello and their team. And then Audrey Pagel and Dory Wilson for their marketing research team too. And then the last senior that I have to present tonight is Brumini Ravi. She is also not able to make it tonight, but she was in the food series event. So this was a fantastic group of senior students, and I'm very proud of them and excited to travel with them this weekend to Atlanta. So thank you for having us tonight, and I'd like to thank my principal, Brian Tamino, and Mark Smithberger for all their help and support, too, that they've given our program. And then also Jane for the nice job that you did describing what DECA is to the board a couple of meetings ago. You did a very nice portrayal of our program. So I'd like to introduce Molly Mason to discuss the junior students and introduce them. So if you guys want to go on through, you can. Thank you again.
Congratulations. Good night. Congratulations. Good luck. Congratulations. Great job.
See you in May. See you in May.
Yeah, exactly. See you in May when I'm giving you your diploma.
Great job. So I would first like to thank the board and all of the staff at SHS for allowing me the opportunity to expand the DECA program with the juniors and giving me the chance to really work with them. It's been a crazy, awesome year. We've done some very exciting things, and it's been such a rewarding experience to kind of go through this process with them, because coming in back in August, they had very limited knowledge of business and marketing, and to see their growth and their transformation, they're really turning into some pretty exciting business people with some really good knowledge. So as Jessica said, there's quite a few of them who couldn't attend tonight due to other things, like there's the science night going on. A lot of them are volunteering with NHS, doing some service hour opportunities, which is commendable, and a couple of them have work as well. So to begin, I would like to introduce Hannah Lepowski. She placed 5th place in the business services marketing. She went by herself. So she did an excellent job. We also had a 6th place team of Eric Geis and Jillian Williams. They were also unable to make it. Both of them are actually sick right now. So they have not been in school the past 2 days. So there's like a stomach flu thing going on. I told them it might be best to stay home. But they placed 6th place in the financial services event, which was a new event for them. They had very limited knowledge on finance, and that's not really my area of expertise either. I know a little bit, but I'm more on the marketing side, so we really worked together to place them in 6th place there. We also had a 6th place team of Andrew Askey and Jack Mott, and they were in the entrepreneurship team decision-making contest. And that was a new event for DECA this year. So again, very limited resources that they had to prep with, so they really had to go above and beyond and research some things and get familiarized with that area. We also had an 8th place individual of Shane Strominger, and he participated in the food marketing event. And then we also had a finalist, Aubrey Wyke. She could not be here again tonight because she is at the science night as well. And she was a state finalist in sports and entertainment marketing. So I'm very proud of the juniors and how far they've come, how far they've grown, and I'm really excited to see what the future has to hold for them. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Great job. As always, you are.
Thank you. Are you coming to my Thank you.
Maybe.
How does the tournament work in Atlanta? We'll go ahead and finish up. But
Last but not least of our recognitions, it's my pleasure to introduce Strongsville High School Athletic Director Andy Jalwan with some winter highlights. Andy?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Ryba, Mrs. Pelko, and members of the school board. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about some of the accomplishments of our Mustang student athletes. Clearly was one of the best winter sports seasons we've had in school history. All of our programs had outstanding seasons. I could not be more impressed by the hard work put in by all our coaching staffs, the dedication of our student athletes, and of course the support from our amazing community. Our girls gymnastics team qualified for the district tournament. Our ice hockey team finished first place in the conference, and our head coach was named Coach of the Year. The wrestling team, while young and rebuilding, competed admirably. The boys basketball team finished as the district runners-up. And the girls basketball team had a great run to the Elite Eight in this year's OHSAA state tournament. But despite all those great accomplishments, it's our swimming and diving program that stood out above them all that we're here to recognize tonight. It's a privilege to recognize these state championship qualifiers from the Mustang program. Our team is a consistent qualifier to the OHSAA state championship meet held in Canton every year, one of the most competitive swim meets in the entire country. For the third year in a row now, our head coach, Mr. Tom Stacy, has also been named Coach of the Year, and we couldn't be more proud of the way his team and the way they represent our community. So it is my honor to introduce our head coach, Tom Stacy, who will introduce our state qualifiers.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate the introduction. And thank you for having us here to recognize our swimmers and diver for the excellence in what they did this year. So just briefly to go over what the team did accomplishment-wise, the girls were 10-1 and the boys were 6-5. So they had a very excellent regular season. But then they did very well in the postseason. So swimming's an interesting it's sport based on times and stuff like that. A lot of states actually, you qualify based on a time to the state competition, right? So any part of the year you go a time, you get to go. They have to be on at a very specific point in time on that time, and they all qualified for the state meet, which is very impressive. Ohio's typically between the third and sixth best state, according to the National Coaches Association, based on athletic performance in swimming. So it's one of the top states in the country. And again, they all qualified for the state competition. The four girls here were also recognized as being all Ohio this year, which is quite impressive. Some of the best in Ohio. And I'll talk about each of them separately. One thing, and Andrew as well. I'll talk about all the kids, even the ones that aren't here, because they all deserve that. I come up here every year and I talk about their dedication and hard work, and I don't go much into it. I just wanted to do that just a little bit so everyone has perspective as to what they do. There was a survey I think I saw online a year ago that was talking about successful business people and their sports backgrounds, and I was just looking it up back there because I wanted specifics. And the survey had 96% of C-level executives, women, had played sports at some point during school, which you're in school for a while, right? But then 55% of them had played at a university level. So I think you learn a lot from sports, a lot about character. And that's something I'm so proud of all of them. I think they represent Strongsville, the community, so well with their character. You imagine they get up really early in the morning, like before 5 a.m., which is a great thing if you want to be successful in life, right? Getting used to being up early. But then they go outside and they're freezing, like most people that go outside in the winter here, right? Then they go to the pool, and then they're jumping in the pool, and 80 degrees sounds good, but 80 degrees feels freezing. So they're getting back in the cold water, and then they work really hard for an hour, then they go to school all day, then they come back and work hard for 2 hours again. Again, in and out of the cold. The pool area is 90 degrees, you're getting in the water. It's quite impressive. I think a big thing about character with these kids is it's not just the time they put in, because that's impressive, the time they put in, but it's what they sacrifice to put that time in. They sacrifice smelling good. They smell like chlorine all day at school, right? They sacrifice, we have swim meets where we leave at 5:30 Saturday morning and we don't get back till 11 at night. So they sacrifice Friday night and probably Saturday night of maybe doing things with their friends to be together, to be a team. So there's a tremendous amount of sacrifice. They sacrifice for each other. You know, whether it's sacrificing sometimes doing your best event to have somebody else do it because that's what's best for the team, sacrificing your time at a big meet, helping one of your teammates get ready for that event when everyone else is left. Like those kind of things, so like high character things. I think it goes beyond just, yes, they've achieved at a high level, but I think they're taking a lot forward, and not just them, the rest of the swimmers on our team too, but I think you see them here because they put so much into it, even more than everybody else. So that's quite impressive, and I just think it's good for people to have perspective. You know, you might be at the pool and just see the swim team in there and realize there's not a lap lane or something, and people get mad about that. But they don't really realize the sacrifice, what these kids are really giving up for each other, and you know, just because they want to be excellent. So again, that's tremendous, and I just think it's important everybody really understands that. So now to recognizing them. So first, and after I recognize you, you can go shake hands. I think that's how we usually do it. So first, recognize freshman Jordan Homoki. So Jordan was All-Ohio this year, actually in 3 events, which is quite impressive. She also set 2 school records this year, which is also very impressive. So congratulations, Jordan. So next, senior Hannah O'Green. So Hannah, she was All-Ohio this year as well. She's also All-Conference this year. Hannah has tremendous grit this year. One of her performance at the district competition, one of her events, I won't go into the story of it, but most people would have just maybe stopped in the middle of the race, and Hannah just toughed through. You didn't even know anything about it. She's just so tough, and it's so admirable watching her do something like that, but it's a testament to what she's done for 4 years. So senior Hannah O'Green. Next, senior Jordan Spencer. So Jordan was also All-Ohio this year and All-Conference. And Jordan will actually be continuing to swim next year in college at Canisius College. Congratulations, Jordan. Next, senior Julia Newbold. So Julia Newbold, she was All-Ohio this year in 3 events, also All-Conference. Julia, we were talking about it. She's actually been All-Ohio 10 different events over the course of 4 years, which is amazingly impressive. I forgot to say this about the 4 girls that were here. They also competed. High school doesn't have nationals in swimming, but USA Swimming does. And they competed in Knoxville in December, actually, for the USA Swimming National Meet and their relay that they made the state competition in as well. So that's quite impressive for Hannah, Julia, and the 2 Jordans. And actually both spell it with a Y, which is awesome. So Julia Newbold, also she will be attending the University of Ashland and continuing to swim there. So congratulations, Julia.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. That's great, Mustang.
So our boys team this year, they continue to streak. They've now made a relay to the state competition every year since, I believe, 2008, which prior to that in the history of the program, they'd only ever made 1 relay to the state competition. So that it was quite impressive this year, and they had turned over the relay as well. Like the relay that made the state meet, they lost half, and I believe the relay made the state meet last year, and then the relay they made in this year, a different relay, had also lost a bunch of swimmers. So the next person I'm going to recognize is Andrew Arslanian. He's a freshman. So he came in as a freshman, and in any sport, a freshman boy is physically way different than the senior and junior boys, even more so than the girls. So he came in and immediately made a huge impact as a freshman. Despite our team losing significant people off the relays, someone like Andrew came in and stepped up and did a tremendous job for us this year to get back to that state competition, to continue that amazing streak, but also to give the program a ton of hope for an amazing future. So again, freshman Andrew Arslanian.
Congratulations.
And then I'll recognize the people that couldn't make it today as well for their accomplishments. Libby Lambert, she made the state meet in diving. She did tremendous this year, had huge improvements from where she was last year. And she'll also be competing in diving at the University of Louisville next year. So that's very impressive. So Libby Lambert, she's a senior. And then for the boys, also on the relay with Andrew, were senior Sal Hargis, junior Ian Cox, and then senior Garrett Green. Garrett also, he set a school record this year in the 100 backstroke, ended up being 10th in the state in that event after never qualifying individually before. And he'll be continuing to swim at Kaiser in Florida next year, so that's quite impressive. So thank you very much again. I appreciate you letting me recognize these kids and giving them the opportunity to be here. And thank you for all the sacrifice that you all do for the community. Thank you.
Tom, before you sit down, I mean, you're saying all the time that these swimmers put in, but I assume every minute that they're there, you're there?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah, you forgot to mention that part of it.
Yeah.
But I see you in the summer, because my daughter does the recreational sea monkey thing, and she does it just for fun and for fitness and that. But I see you at a lot of the swim meets, so you kind of, we're trying to build these programs, and you epitomize what a coach should be. I see another one in the back row. He might have left, but another guy who puts a lot of time in the summers. But thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
And we really, you're a great coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Mr. Nasa?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Means you got through it.
Exactly. Thank you.
Not yet, Richard wants to thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Richard, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, just a quick aside. I was told I needed to make this announcement. So Libby is the diver, and the reason she's not here is going back to Coach Tom's comment on practicing. She had a choice of being here, or she had a choice of going to Cleveland State to practice diving. And she chose practice diving, which I appreciate because she took my daughter along so that she can practice diving too. Thank you.
We appreciate all of our students and families being here, and we are so proud of you. And at this time, you're more than welcome to leave and go on about your evening. So thank you so much for being here. Continuing on, Mr. Naso, for the superintendent's report to the community. Continuing on the theme of recognizing our students, but this time former students. We had, thanks to the work of Dan Faust and some local alumni that are still in town, we recreated under Dan's leadership a Distinguished Alumni Committee. If you've ever been in the high school, right when you walk in, you see all the plaques of our former alumni that have been recognized. It's been almost 10 years, right, Dan, since we've had an event. Dan partnered with the Chamber, and this Tuesday, we were able to recognize our first class of distinguished alumni in a few years, and it's my privilege to share at this public forum, first, Mr. Tom Lobb, class of 1964, who was recognized for not only his accomplishments with Medical Mutual and all that he was able to do in the business force, but his continued support of our district through a member of the Education Foundation, through a member of countless levy and bond committees. he truly has been an advocate for Strongsville and an advocate for our students, and has just been a great partner, and I call him a great friend of our district and me personally, and just thrilled that he could be recognized. And if you know Tom, that was a very uncomfortable moment for him. He does not like to be in the limelight. In fact, his entire speech was about how everybody else is deserving. And so thank you to Tom Lobb, and we're proud to recognize him. We also recognize Dr. Stephen Hauser, class of 1985. Dan had the paper in front of him and couldn't say the titles and all the accomplishments, but as he said, he's a nose picker, right? He's a doctor of, not rhino, ear, nose, and throat, but very high level, and what he shared that I thought was interesting of what he does is so rare. He has patients fly from all over the country. He's a doctor at Metro, from Australia to all over the United States, from all over the world, due to his expertise. And I had the opportunity to spend some time with him afterwards, and he went to the University of Notre Dame. And the story he told me is when he left Strongsville going to Notre Dame, he thought, wow, how am I going to compete with all of these kids that went to private schools, prep schools? And he said, I was right in the mix and never felt behind because of the quality education he got through Strongsville City Schools and Strongsville High School. And then finally, we were thrilled to recognize Chef Jonathan Sawyer, class of 1998. As I shared with him, my kids are big fans of food television, and he was a competitor in the Iron Chef Gauntlet. So Dad was pretty cool this week because I got to meet Chef Sawyer. But again, to hear his story of the opportunities he had, his ability to break away from the family business of engineering and take on his own passion of the culinary arts and food, and how Strongsville and teachers, he specifically spent time naming teachers that really influenced him and built that passion for him to be successful in his life, and obviously what he's given back to the Cleveland area through his various restaurants. Thank you to Dan for his leadership in bringing this program back to life for our community and for our district, and congratulations to our 3 nominee or distinguished alumni for the 2018 school year. So, and with that, Mr. Naso, that concludes my report to the community.
So, thank you. And Dan, that was a great event you put on Tuesday. It was really well done, and you picked 3 very good. I know there was a committee that helped pick the winners, but it was really a diverse crowd. It was interesting to see all the different ends of the spectrum. You know, you had Dr. Hauser, who, you know, obviously excelled in, you know, the math and science and all that, and took that to the highest level, and shows that our top guys can compete with anybody. And then you had Chef Sawyer had mentioned that he struggled, that he really couldn't figure out where he fit in academically. He felt he didn't learn the way other students did, but he just kept pushing. He named some teachers who really helped him through and find his passion and what he really did well. And I think that's a tribute to what Strongsville schools are about. We're getting the most out of every kid, and that's, you know. And then you've got crazy Tom Lobb, but you know, but he's such a great man. I've worked with Tom on. I mean, he was one of the first 4 people who proposed the middle school. He worked on the levies. He was, you know, he's just been on so many different things with us. He's a huge help. Education Foundation, just a great group. Thank you, Dan. We want to make sure that you're always talking about everybody else. We want to talk about you. So great job.
I think it's important for everybody to know, and I'll speak of Tom because I don't know the other 2 distinguished alumni. Tom was probably one of 5 or 6 key people within that entire construction project. He was a consistent light voice of the direction we needed to go, from everything from the levee to everything that we needed to get done. If it wasn't for Tom Lobb and the direction that he provided for us and those 5 or 6 other people, you being one, Carl, that building that's sitting on Pearl would not be there. So, I mean, this community, this city, and the school district owes Tom Lobb a lot for his volunteerism.
Yep. He was also the guy who introduced us to Serpentini, to get Serpentini Field, right? So he's the one who set up that meeting that day when we went to see him and walked out with a big check. Thank you, Mr. Serpentini.
Yeah.
But with that, I don't think we have any public comments. We do have some approval of minutes. We have the March 1st and March 15th regular board meetings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you, George. Any discussion? George, can you take roll?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. That brings us treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Naso. For my treasurer's report, I have item A, the financial report for month ending March 31st, 2018. The full report can be found in Exhibit A, but in the interest of time, I'll be brief. I have a brief presentation just to go over the highlights of the month. For the highlights on the revenue side, revenues totaled $6.2 million for the month. The biggest thing that happens in March for revenues is that we get our final settlement from the county on our property taxes. We received 2 advances, one in January and one in February for our taxes. Those are the biggest chunk. Then the remaining settlement comes in March, where we reconcile it. So in total, tax collections totaled for the current fiscal year totaled about $51.9 million, which is about $2.3 million above the forecast. The increase is attributable to several factors. The primary factor is due to the change in the collection split. Normally, their taxes are paid on a calendar year, but our fiscal year overlaps 2 calendar years. And the collection split change above the forecast was about $1.8 million, and $1.1 million of it is residential. Normally, residential is pretty consistent, but what happened this year is there was a change in the federal tax laws where a lot of people were paying their tax bill for 2018 at 100% for December 31st to get that tax credit write-off. So rather than paying 2 bills, they just paid it all at once. So it inflated our revenues for this half collections, and it's gonna deflate them for the next half. But it's all in 1 calendar year, but since our fiscal year overlaps calendar years, it's gonna impact 2 fiscal years. So that was the biggest chunk of the increase there, was the collection split. And then our prior delinquencies was about $500,000 above the forecast, 1.3 million total for the fiscal year in prior delinquency payments. The TIF dollars received was 2.7 million, which is about $262,000 above the forecast. And then interest, general fund interest totaled $25,000 for the month and close to $300,000 for the fiscal year, which is about $238,000 higher compared to last March. And then through March 31st, revenues totaled about $67.6 million. And we're projecting to receive another $6.7 million through April through June for total revenues of $74.4 million, which is $3.7 million above the forecast. And the biggest chunks there is that tax revenue, and then also we're going to get back about $750,000 in a TPP reimbursement that was originally phased out, that the Senate voted in the fall, and this was just confirmed with OD that we should receive it by I think May 31st. And then on the expenditure side, our general fund expenditures totaled $6.1 million for the month. As a spending benchmark, 9 out of 12 months have passed, 18 out of 24 pay periods have elapsed, so benchmark was 75%. Our expended encumbered is about 71.4%, so we're trending under budget. Salaries average for March was 1.7 million, which is similar to February's, and then our benefits were 1.3 million for March, which was similar to February as well. And then overall, we finished the month of March with a cash balance of 41.1 million, and based on our 2020 plan to have 60 days of operating cash as a benchmark, that benchmark would be 11.4 million, so we're currently above that benchmark. And then that concludes the highlights. I have the rest of the presentation if anyone has any questions.
Nice job.
And then
The
moving
higher
up-
tax collections, just to be clear, the largest portion of that 1.1 from the higher, is simply a timing issue, correct?
Correct. A lot of folks just paid their bill at 100% of the year rather than paying now and again.
Because they
in
know
the
that could be
summertime.
itemized in 18,
Right.
so they took it in 17. Okay, have any questions?
And then item B is amended appropriations, which can be found in B. There was one change to a local grant. Item C, House Bill 9, Ohio Public Records Training. This is for one time during your term. You have to attend a public records training. or you can designate me to do it on your behalf. So I like to do it every 2 years, which would cover all the board members at once during their term. So the training was this past Tuesday in Columbus, which I attended. So this will just be accepting that as on your behalf. And then item D, Student Services, North Coast Therapy, LLC. This is paid out of IDEA B and Fund 587, which is the Early Childhood Education Grant for IDEA B as well. It's for school year 18-19 for occupational and physical therapists for a total cost of $265,000, which can be found in Exhibit C. And then I also do have an addendum, which is I believe in the back of the packet for, it's item 9E, legal counsel appointment, and this does require a separate vote since it's legal counsel. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that a resolution retaining legal services for the law firm of Brenda McIntyre and Seed LLP to represent the Board of Education during the calendar year 2018 be approved.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The only comment I'll make is I would like to see a review of all the lawyers that we use and your recommendations on which ones are how long we've been using them, and your recommendation on whether we should go out to market and possibly put up, solicit some new lawyers and just see if, some of them I know we've used for a long time, and it maybe it's time that we take a look at the list and see if they're the right ones.
Yep, that's something I'll get with Mr. Rival together, and we'll evaluate and get a list back to the board.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? You take roll?
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes. And there are no further questions. That concludes my report.
All right, brings us.
George,
Yes.
did you learn anything at the training?
At OASBO, at the public training?
The public records training? Is there anything new?
There was nothing new, but it was a nice refresher to get caught up. It was a combination of the sunshine laws and the public records training. So I do have a CD back, so I could give you guys individually, of the new sunshine laws manual and the presentation that was, the handouts from the presentation.
So you'll distribute that presentation?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, excellent. Because it's one thing that you go, and it saves us from having to go to Columbus and go through the training, but we're all responsible for it. So it's important that we all read it and review it and make sure we're in compliance at all times, so. Okay, that brings us to the superintendent's report.
Starting off with timely information, as you can see on the slide, we're excited to host our next community conversations. It's going to be Monday, April 23rd, 6:30 p.m. at the high school in the Little Theater. That's a slight change to the location and the date. We have top 5% at the high school on the 24th, which is a great event. So we hope our community can come out and hear what we're doing to prepare our students for college, for career, and for the military, as well as developing what many call soft skills needed to be competitive in today's workforce. So obviously I will be there moderating, but it will be presented by high school principal Mr. Smithberger, guidance counselor Ms. Brusky, and we will also have a guidance counselor from Polaris Career Center as a part of the presentation. And as always, there will be probably about a 20-minute presentation, opportunity for a panel discussion, and then questions and answers for individual information needs afterwards. So we hope to see everybody on Monday at 6:30 at the high school in the Little Theater. We also have coming up next week all-city band and orchestra concerts on Wednesday and Thursday at the high school auditorium. And as was mentioned, we had a phenomenal science night at the high school that was going on earlier today. Not only was it the research and the discoveries of our students in a traditional science fair type venue, but great opportunities and activities for families and young people, and the planetarium was open for a variety of planetarium shows. So a huge thank you to our science department for all the work that they put on, and all of our students for the great projects that they created. And to keep that going, on Friday, May 4th, we'll have our annual art show, which we have one of our high school art teachers in the audience here tonight. And you know, all of our art teachers do a great job and see all the different forms and aspects of art. And one of the new things that we've seen in the last few years is digital photography. So through the variety of means, but also see the photography that our students are doing. So if you haven't been there in the past, I know most of our board members have attended and go. It really is a great event to go to see our talented students. And then it is spring time, and there's a lot of sports going on. We didn't put up any dates because, as you could see, most things are canceled rather than playing this time of year with rain and snow. But go to strongsvilleathletics.org, and you could see our updated schedule for all of our spring sports. Moving on, there is one item under consideration, approval of a tuition student. So it's the recommendation that Maddie Schneiderbeck be accepted as a tuition-based student at Strongsville High School for the 2018-19 school year. This is allowable per board policy and at the rate of tuition set by the state of Ohio. Unless there's any questions on timely information.
I have one question. The orchestra and band concerts, the 25th and the 26th, which is which? Is the orchestra the 25th or the 26th?
We will find out
Wait a second.
which of those.
I can probably tell you.
During the next section, I'll find
Okay.
out. I'll
All
look
right.
and see.
If we're gonna discuss it, it's an egregious error that the science fair and a school board meeting are on the same night.
Yes.
It is,
We do
actually.
not want that to happen ever again.
All right, next we have Operations Manager, Mr. Breckner, with a variety of gifts that are to be recognized tonight. Steve?
Good evening, everyone. The Strongsville Education Foundation donated $1,250 in the form of a grant to purchase African Tubano drums for the classroom of Kimberly Taylor at Strongsville Middle School. The Strongsville City Club donated $500 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. The Strongsville PTA Council awarded the following grants for the 2017-2018 school year. Chapman Elementary School received a grant to purchase a Beams Interactive Music System Classroom Edition valued at $350. Chapman Elementary School received a grant to purchase an Epic Lego wall valued at $270. Kinsner Elementary School received a grant to go towards the purchase of a Gaga ball pit valued at $1,500. Muraski Elementary School received a grant to purchase 200 pairs of headphones for use with Chromebooks valued at $400. Muraski Elementary School received a grant to purchase guidance program supplemental materials which will be used in all 5 elementary buildings valued at $807. Muraski Elementary School received a grant to go towards the purchase of Lego supplies to build a makerspace wall valued at $270. Muraski Elementary School received a grant to purchase a deluxe hockey pack for physical education classes valued at $1,400. Strongsville High School received a grant to purchase miscellaneous makerspace supplies valued at $1,500. Strongsville Middle School received a grant to purchase 6 tables for use with 12 Sphero robotic balls valued at $840. Strongsville Middle School received a grant to purchase tuners, strings, and a USB microphone/webcam for 8th grade music appreciation valued at $345. Strongsville Early Learning Preschool received a grant to purchase 3 portable light panels valued at $450. Strongsville Early Childhood PTA donated an Outback Ray entertainment experience for children ages birth to 5 years old, valued at $250. And the Strongsville Early Childhood PTA donated a 2-hour STEM program, Snapology of Cleveland, for children ages birth to 5 years old, valued at $595. And that concludes that.
Well, pretty amazing.
Thank you
Yeah.
to our PTA.
Thank you to the PTA.
Yeah, our PTA council always does a tremendous job, but the amount of grants that they've given is really to be commended. And we're thrilled, tomorrow on our 60 Seconds, we will feature Carrie Dewis, our PTA council president, as well as the various grants across the district. Obviously, we couldn't highlight all of them, but a select few to publicly thank the PTA council and what they're doing to benefit our students. So again, thank you to Carrie and the PTA council and all of our PTA units for their tireless efforts to raise funds to help support what we do in our schools.
And those funds are raised primarily from Rockin' at the Rec, so thank you for all those parents of many years supporting Rockin' at the Rec.
That's right.
Wow.
Next up, we have Aaron Green, Director of Curriculum, with the curriculum report for this month.
Good evening. I have 3 items tonight for your consideration. First one is an exciting one, the list of potential graduates for commencement on June 3rd, 2018, as seen in Exhibit D. Second item is student teacher placements. We have 3. 2 are from Baldwin Wallace, 1 from Ashland, and they will be at 3 different buildings. We have Whitney Elementary, Strongsville High School, and Surrar Elementary. And the last item is an out-of-state trip for our girls soccer team, wishing to travel to Seattle, Washington, August 31st through September 3rd.
Excellent.
Thanks.
There are no additional student service items this month, so that brings us to our human resource report from Jenny Pelko.
Good evening. I have the following items under Human Resources for your consideration. Under E1, I have resignations of certificated staff, resignation of a certificated supplemental contract, resignation of non-certificated supplemental contract, and a resignation for a summer school teacher. Under E2, we have certificated retirements, as well as our non-certificated retirements, and we'll recognize them in May, at our board meeting in May. Under E3, I have a dismissal of a non-certificated staff. Under E4, appointments of our certificated staff and appointments of a certificated job share for next year. Appointments for non-certificated staff, appointments for non-certificated substitutes, and an appointment for a certificated supplemental contract. Appointment for certificated additional days. Appointments for certificated supplemental contracts paid upon completion. Continuing under E4, appointments for non-certificated supplemental contracts and appointments for our junior Air Force ROTC contracts. Appointments for our summer school teachers, an appointment for our non-certificated personnel for summer school clerk, appointments for certificated testing consultants, and appointments for certificated tutors. Under E5, we have a stipend for our kindergarten early entrance screening. Under E6, changes in hours for non-certificated staff members. Under E7, changes in status for non-certificated staff. Under E8, continuing contract recommendations for non-certificated staff. Under E9, contract extensions for certificated staff. Under E10, we have a degree incentive upgrade for our leadership. Under E11, we have certificated medical leaves and non-certificated medical leaves. Under E12, unpaid medical leaves for certificated staff and 1 unpaid medical leave for non-certificated staff. And finally, under E13, we have a slew of volunteer chaperones, and that is thanks to all of our field trips we're taking this year, thanks to SEF. And under E14, we have our security services partnership with the Strongsville City Police Department. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to work with the Strongsville City Police Department to provide security services for the 2017-18 school year to the elementary school buildings and the preschool buildings. Officers to be paid at the rate of $35 per hour by timesheet as verified by the building principal and the Strongsville City Police Department. And that concludes my report, unless there are any questions for me.
Jenny, George,
Yes.
I'm going to request one of the supplemental contracts be voted separately.
Okay.
Do we want to explain number 14?
Yes. I'm just making note of things.
Actually, Carl,
Yes.
let Cameron go and then you, just so that the public and parents and the taxpayers understand exactly what we're doing. Because we already have an SRO officer at the high school, now at the middle school, so we can explain our decisions for number 14. And start then you finish.
Cameron, you want to explain?
Sure. So as we know, recently, we've always had a SRO at the high school, Officer Chris Koenig. He's been there for a number of years. A few weeks ago, we, with the partnership with the city also provided an SRO, Officer Mendici, at the middle school, and he's been there for 3 weeks or so now. What this allows us to do is to provide additional security protection for our 5 elementary schools and our preschool. So we are currently, after this vote, if approved, we'll continue to work with the Strongsville Police Department. And the goal would be to solidify 2 officers that would be on our property on a daily basis and providing additional security, like I said, at the elementary schools and preschools. And as we look at the totality of our security endeavors and efforts in the coming or the past months, and in collaboration with the police recommendation, we feel that this is adequate coverage, and we feel that this is a necessary next step to provide security across our district to all of our buildings. So if approved, we will be able to move very quickly. And I believe, based on preliminary conversations, that next week we'll be able to have 2 officers in place in the district during school hours at the preschool and elementary level.
Excellent. We've met in executive session to discuss safety and security for the students in light of all the events. What we wanted to make sure was that we provided a measured response. Part of it will be modifications to the building over the summer, but now we felt it was important. We have police presence in the high school. We have police presence now in the middle school. We'll now have police presence at the elementary schools. And it's just so important to make sure that everyone has that proper level of protection and that, we were able to respond to anything, quickly and efficiently and to keep our kids as safe as we possibly can. So we're really happy that we were able to do this. We're really thankful to Chief and the mayor and city council and everybody who's helping out in this plan. It is truly a group city-wide effort to make sure that we take every step that we possibly can.
And we've 2 additional officers for 6 buildings. And these officers will rotate through different buildings. And that will not be on a schedule. That will be based on where the superintendent and where the administration wants those active officers. These will be active officers.
Excellent. Strongsville police officers.
Strongsville police officers. And for me, as a father, one of the wonderful things is our students now will be able to now go into a building and at different times throughout their year have an active officer that they'll get to know. It'll be Officer Dan or Officer Mike, whoever that these people will be, and they'll be on a rotating basis. So these students will now know the Strongsville Police Department from the time that they are 5 years old all the way through until they're 18. And then thank you to Mr. Breckner, and he's working on our secured vestibules and everything for our buildings. So this board, this administration has taken the security of our children and the safety and security of our buildings, and we took that very seriously. We made some very major decisions to take care of those kinds of issues. So thank you.
Just for clarification, these are off-duty police officers, but they will be in full uniform, so they are not like working on the city time and the school district's time. They're devoted just to the Strongsville City Schools, but they are in full uniform. Will they be using their patrol cars as well, or will they be in unmarked cars, their own cars? Do you know? Just so if parents are at the school and they see a police car or not a police car.
They will not be in a police car.
Okay. Thank you.
They will be armed.
Yeah, they will, the regular gear that they have on any workday is the same equipment, uniform that they will have when they're with us. The only difference is that they will not be in a police cruiser, they'll be in a different vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
And if there are no more questions for human resources, it's not very often Vicki Turner has a technology report, so I feel like we should slow clap you up as you come to the podium. But Vicki Turner, Director of Instructional Technology, with an exciting item for your consideration this evening.
Okay, thank you. For your consideration, and I'll speak to this in a minute, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the agreement between Strongsville City Schools and Power School Group to provide the unified classroom learning management and assessment systems at an annual cost of $36,190 per year, and the first-year cost of $45,127.50 for implementation and professional development. And you can see the exhibit. So when I first came to Strongsville, 8 years ago now almost, I was surprised that they didn't have a learning management system. So you're probably more familiar with Blackboard or Moodle, and most schools already have those in place. And there was nothing here, and we started to explore some options. And we have been using Google Classroom as a type of learning management, but it's not very robust or sophisticated. So about 1.5 years ago, Jessica Frenchek and another teacher came up to me because they had a webinar, and in the webinar they used the Unified Classroom to show this blended learning piece. So they were really excited about it. They're like, oh my gosh, it was so awesome. So I contacted Power School and asked them to show me. And as we watched it, and then I took it to Colt, and we got to see the program. And as it went all the way through, so we've been piloting this year with all 14 instructional tech coaches. And we are going to move forward with purchasing this learning management system. It's part of Power School. So in addition to all of the different features it has, it completely integrates with Power School with the grading system. So the problem with most learning management systems is they're operating over here and gradebooks over here, and then there's always some piece. So with the Unified Classroom, the unified part is 3 parts. It's Power School gradebook, it is the learning management piece, and then it's the assessment piece. So teachers now, this is good for teachers, it's also good for students, because as they get used to this type of management system, this is what they'll experience at the college level. But teachers will do all of their creating in there. It acts as a website. All of our collaboration, all of our own PD, the administrators will use it, the board would have a module. Teachers create their modules, they can interact with parents, they open up pages for parents, all their announcements, student portfolios. When they're in the assessment piece, they can do all their common assessments, all their TBTs, formative assessments, they can share with other teachers. We can look at longitudinal data, cross-sectional data. They can have those assessments mimic the AIR test, so they can pull questions and make it look just like the AIR test. They can have question banks. They can look at depth of knowledge, which we call DECA levels of questions, and then they will be able to give those assessments to students and then have it go right to their grade book. So they won't have to always take that extra step. So as I said, we have been piloting. The original price of this was over $65,000. So we had kind of months of negotiating that price down. One of the selling points is that we're Strongsville, and we're gonna have this new, and it's pretty new, and so we're gonna be your Twitter friends, and we're gonna tell other people about it. And we were at the leadership conference, and Highland folks were sitting next to me, and I started talking about it, and they're like, you're doing Unified Classroom? Can we come see it when you implement it? So we'll be one of the first big schools to implement it, and I think it's gonna be terrific for our students, our staff, and our administrators. Questions?
No,
Good
so-
job, Vicki.
Good job.
How many
Might have to-
year of a commitment is this? Like,
Pardon
is the price gonna go up in 3 years, or it's a 5-year deal?
Right, well, no, not right now, it's just year by year.
Okay.
And then we'll just keep working with them with Power School. But we also, with our e-finance, that was another selling point, because with the special education component, with our e-finance component, we'll pretty much have that, helps us get a discount too.
Excellent. I think we'll have to build our own school consulting team and start sending them out, generate some revenue.
Thank you.
And that concludes the superintendent's report, Mr. Naso.
Go ahead, no?
So I was gonna compliment Vicki. I'm familiar with LMSs. They're wonderful tools. I think the challenge, and I know Vicki's up for it, but the challenge is you buy this great tool, you buy this great piece of software, and if no one uses it, it's this great tool and this great piece of software. But the nice part is that the software will tell you that nobody's using it. So there's a built-in way to develop accountability. But one of the things that I'm excited about is the idea that you do the work in the LMS and then you can share it. And so that probably will be a little bit of a learning curve for a lot of people, because there's a lot of ownership, and you have to be willing to do your best work and put that time in, and then share it with someone who, what do you mean? They didn't spend the hours that I spent. This is my work. But overall, it means only one person is doing that work, and we can have best of breed. And so, for example, you know, whether it's a English class, a math class, or whatever, if you have a best of breed learning module, other students, even if they don't have you as a teacher, or even if they don't have that teacher, they can benefit from the material in the LMS. And you'll be able to do it during the school day, outside of the school day. If somebody needs review, if a student needs the concept repeated, you have that ability to rinse, wash, and repeat. So assuming we use it and use it robustly, it is going to be a great tool, and it'll have a big impact on our district. I don't know how many times you're at home and you go, I don't remember what the teacher said. I don't remember what the teacher taught. Well, those kinds of things will be in the LMS, and I forgot that part of the class. You can go to the LMS system and review it again, and I think math problems are easy to use as an example. I forgot how to do those 4 steps, and you try to read it, you try to Google it, you try to cheat and just get the answer off of Google. But with an LMS, you can log in and review that lesson when you need to. So it is a great thing, but the concern always is you spend a lot of money and nobody uses it.
Right. I did want to speak to that, and thank you for bringing it up. We have been working on the PD component, and Aaron and I have been working, and Jenny, and have spoken to labor management, have a PD plan in place that will start in the summer. And then the 14 instructional tech coaches who piloted will be part of the training. So they're in all the elementaries, middle school, and high school. So throughout next year and at one of our PD days will only be devoted to the LMS training. So, thanks.
Is it as easy as just scanning a document and placing it in the database for students and parents to review? Or is it mainly typing in the lessons?
It can be both. So when you're talking about just an assessment component, you can upload something, you can add it from your Google Drive. I think Jessica was just talking about the assessment she's using, and she was using code, screenshots of code or photos of code in her assessment in the LMS, and then students had to answer questions about it. I think it was multiple choice, or so she was saying how easy it was to use and how she can switch that up. So we do have a PD plan in place, and it is an expectation that all of the teachers will use this. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that, that brings us to our reports from our different committees. And let's keep these succinct and short and get through them. Report on Polaris.
What are you trying to say, Carl?
No long-winded reports tonight, please.
So,
You just sunk it, Ben, by saying that.
so I am really excited to share my Polaris report tonight, and I'm going to highlight a la carte, which is the voice of the Ohio food service industry. It is still a magazine, which was surprising to me in the first place, but it is done by the Ohio Pro Start, and it highlights our own Chef O, and more importantly, our team of students. Can you see it? Excellent. And I do want to give a shout out to Brandon Schifferly, who is from Strongsville, from the high school, and he's part of the Polaris culinary program. But the periodical highlights our Polaris culinary program and the fact that they're the 2-time national champs, and has a great article on Chef O, but really highlights the work of the students, and that was very exciting. So we give a shout out to him. And then the other comment about Polaris, I wanted to compliment Polaris. Yesterday we had the first ever satellite students induction into the National Technical Honor Society, which is very similar to our honor society here at the high school, but it's specifically for career technical students. It was the first time they did it for the satellite program. At the high school, we have the engineering satellite program, so it was great to celebrate their successes. It was great to bring students from our associate school districts to Strongsville. It was nice to hear parents remark on the remodel of Strongsville. And so next year, we're looking forward to doing it again, and we're looking forward to having some Strongsville students from the engineering program inducted into the Honor Society. And then the last Polaris comment is I just wanted to compliment Frank Fabrizi, who is our second Polaris board member. He's been to a couple of board meetings so far, and the hope was that he would be able to bring his expertise with construction to bear on our big construction project at Polaris, and he has done a wonderful job. So I wanted to bring that report back to my board members and to the community. And there'll be an auction on I believe May 22nd, but you can go to the Polaris website to get the details. But we're getting really close to breaking ground and breaking everything apart. And before we do that, we have a lot of equipment that is no longer useful to the school, but would be potentially useful to a lot of businesses or personal people, whether it's automotive, whether it's construction, whether it's machining, et cetera. A lot of that equipment will be auctioned off. And that completes my Polaris report.
Legislation?
Tagging on to our discussion about school resource officers, I wanted to highlight Ohio House Bill 318, which is meant to increase security measures in schools. It'll set up Ohio-based standards for school resource officers. It will require 40 hours of training so that police officers learn the individual requirements necessary in a school environment. And it has a funding mechanism of grants that schools can apply for to receive money at the state level to help fund SROs. It passed the House. It's now being considered by the Senate. I would request all interested people contact their Senator Matt Dolan and let them know not only do we support it, but we want to make sure that those grants are available to all school districts. All too often, those kinds of grants are structured so that a district like Strongsville doesn't qualify for them. But this is important, and it should be available to all school districts. And the only other comment I have is a bit of a gripe. It is state testing time, and I'm a big believer in using the technology, and I'm a big believer in having the testing online. At the very least, we can make sure that the technology works. State testing is stressful enough for our students when it works, but the American Institutes for Research, better known as the AIR test, boondoggled the testing, which is the kindest way I can put it. But if you're so inclined, please contact your state legislators and let them know that if you're going to require state testing, make sure you require that the technology works. And that's my end of my gripe.
Excellent. Board liaison reports, Jane, City Council?
Okay, well, I had 3 city council meetings since our last meeting,
Whoa.
but I will just highlight the things that might be important to
Whatever
the
you need
people that are.
share, Jane.
There you go. They had a first and second reading on an ordinance allowing intoxicating beverages on the commons. So if you have an opinion about whether the city should pass that ordinance, contact your city council representative, because it just is on the second reading as of the last meeting. They also
They didn't want to suspend and adopt, huh?
No, no, there wasn't a lot of first and second readings. There's another resolution that was just at the meeting for a request for engineering for a roundabout at Howe and Shermer Roads. It's being proposed as an alternative to the slip ramp that didn't go through. I want to highlight that this is not a resolution to make it go forward. It's a resolution to possibly have engineering evaluate if it's something that should be considered. So again, if you have a strong opinion one way or another, please contact your representative about that. It is a roundabout. They, on the good news, they purchased a chest compression system for the last ambulance in the city. So all of our ambulances in our city now have manual chest compressions, sleeves, so to speak, that would go on a patient. So that way everybody is covered, which is good. What else? They had $1 million worth of pavement that they're going to be purchasing for pavement in the city. $1 million sounds like a lot. As you know, driving around our city, we have a lot of streets, so $1 million does not go very far. They did not publish a list of streets that would be impacted for this pavement. And then just on a public service, there's a prescription drug give back day on April 28th at the police station from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But if you have unused prescription drugs in your house at any time, they do have 24-hour drug drop-off box at the police station. It looks like a mailbox, and you put them in a plastic baggie, and you can safely dispose of your drugs that way. So, and then lastly, sorry, there is a joint city council and school board meeting that's going to be held April 30th at the Strongsville Middle School. The agenda has not been determined yet, so again, with the sunshine laws and public laws that we have to abide by, it's going to be a little tricky. We all have to have separate agendas, we have to have separate note-taking, so we still have to coordinate that, but the date is set at April 30th. I do not know if a time has been set or agreed upon at this point.
7 p.m.
7 p.m., okay.
We will have a posting once everything is finalized.
Right. Joe DeMio and I are working on the agenda items. If you have any suggestions, bring them forward. We've got about 4 items so far, and we'll keep it moving.
So that is my city council report.
Excellent.
Then, student achievement, I think we had enough student achievement tonight. We had an awesome student achievement tonight.
Sure
But
did.
I was able to stop into the science fair. Incredible, the quality of work that our students put out, from the 9th graders all the way up to the AP honors students. And I was lucky enough to be able to go to the planetarium, because I hadn't been to the planetarium since I was in high school. And I kind of missed the wooden round circle benches, but the seats were really comfortable. So we had a nice little presentation. But then I wanted to give a little shout out. The science department is selling these T-shirts. They are $10, so they're available. You can find the order blank. I have some here. Anyone in the audience would like to buy one? They're $10. And you can contact the high school and get your own Strongsville Science Super Science Club T-shirt. So that is our student achievement. Yeah, go ahead. I already bought mine. And then George, I don't know, you went to PTA, I'm assuming?
I did. The next PTA meeting is going to be on May 3rd at 9 a.m. here. I do want to remind everybody that the Strongsville High School PTA is going to have a wing dig night at the local bar tomorrow at 6:30. Please show up. Please buy some wings. Please donate some. It's important that we help the PTA. You saw the gigantic list of the money that they raise for all of our kids, for all of our school buildings. It's important that we help the PTA in any which way we can. So again, next meeting's the 3rd, but tomorrow at 6:30 at the local bar, the Strongsville High School PTA will have their wing dig night, so please come and join them.
And the local bar used to be Bilos.
Bilos, yes, yes. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Excellent. That brings us to Finance Committee. We didn't have a Finance Committee meeting, but we do have one scheduled for April 25th.
Next week.
Next Wednesday at 7 p.m. That's my wondering about the orchestra or band concert, which one's that night. So I'll know which one I'm going to miss.
Carl, Strongsville Education Foundation.
Education, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, don't forget Jockeys and Juleps, May 5th, at the senior side of the rec center. It's a wonderful event. Either show up with a bow tie or a hat with a flower in it or whatever. And it's a wonderful evening. It's a lot of fun. I haven't missed one yet. And hopefully we'll see everybody there.
Excellent. Policy Committee?
We have a meeting scheduled May 10th? 8th.
Yep.
May 8th, 6:30 PM in this building.
Superintendent's office.
Superintendent's office.
Facilities?
Our next meeting is at Chapman Elementary. It is next Thursday, the 26th at 6:30. Open to the public. Please come and join if you like.
Excellent. All right, I think that's all our committees. That brings us to the consent calendar. We are going to exclude item 10E4, appointment of a certified supplemental contract for the year 2018-19 school year. Melissa Kelly, we're going to vote on that one separately. I believe we have to vote separately, so,
No,
No, we don't? Okay,
Because
good.
a motion hasn't been passed yet.
okay.
So we can just go ahead and make a motion second. and
Okay, so
discussion.
let's have a motion for the consent calendar for all items except the excluded item.
So moved.
Have a second one?
Second.
Thank you. Take roll?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes,
Mr. Grozen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
thank you. Do I have a motion to vote on item 10E4, Melissa Kelly, head football cheerleading coach?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do you have any discussion?
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Oh. In the agenda of every hiring decision that the board votes on is the statement on the recommendation of the superintendent. We have spent a lot of time deliberating about this. I do not take this decision lightly. It has been months that I've been considering it, deliberating it, working back and forth, trying to balance my oath of office and balance my requirements as a board member and balancing it with what I know personally and what my family has experienced and what I know of the program. I had a long statement and I've chosen not to go through it. What I will summarize with is that I've given extreme attention and deliberation to this vote. I'm acutely aware that I am both a board member and a parent with a child in the school. For the past 4 years, I've bent over backward to do what is in the best interest of the school district and be fair and impartial to those affected by my decisions. However, this recommendation I find faulty, and I find it's based on incorrect facts. Furthermore, it's not in the best interests of the student involved. We talk a lot about collective trust and shared accountability, and this is a failure of shared accountability, and it's a failure of collective trust. And I feel that I'm part of that failure. And so I will redouble my efforts for these kinds of evaluations going forward, but neither my conscience nor my oath allows me to support it.
Any other discussion? Take roll.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Grozen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
No.
Mr. Miko?
No.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. We do have need for executive session. All right, wait, hold on. Board of Education, other. Anybody have any other? No.
I have some others.
Okay.
I wanted to compliment George that the outstanding fees works. If you have outstanding fees, after a certain point in time, your access to the grading system denies you that access.
Now, would further.
Maggie really doesn't want us to be able to look at her grades, but Mom wants to look at her grades, so please make sure to turn on her grading system.
Well, I can't accept it's Dawn. Dawn does a
I'll
great
give it to
job.
Dawn.
Dawn does a great job of overseeing that.
Good,
and, and to help our efforts where we're at with
So.
that, so.
And, but it does work, and you do need to keep up your fees. And what I discovered is that if you have art fees at the semester, you don't get an email about those art fees, but you do get, or at least I don't read the email, Dawn. But you do get, eventually the grades are turned off.
Good news.
So,
This goes out through the high school.
well, it could just be part of Maggie's master plan. So, and then I was thinking about the wellness program and the gym and the presentation from the physical education teachers. And I was thinking about my middle schooler, and I have brought home I have picked up his book bag numerous times throughout the past year, and it is incredibly heavy. And so I'd like to challenge the wellness department to collect data on how heavy our book bags are, especially at the middle school. And with their background in wellness, I would hope that they can determine whether our book bags are too heavy, especially at the middle school. That's it.
All right. Any others? None? Good. Meeting notices, we have a regular boards meeting on May 3rd and another one on May 17th, all at the middle school. Nope, all at one, excuse me. The one on the 3rd is right here. The one on May 17th is at the middle school. So, we do have need for executive session for,
To consider matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, regulations, or state statutes.
I also like to add security.
To discuss details relative to the security arrangements and emergency response protocols for the Board of Education.
an evaluation of an employee.
To consider employment of a public employee or official.
That's it.
That's it.
All comments will be kept to 10 minutes or less. Okay, with that,
We need to vote.
we need a vote. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
vote,
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Enter an executive session at 8:55.
8:55. No business afterwards, so thank you.